Morning. Good. Okay, so I'm reading Real by Kennedy Ryan. Kennedy Ryan is probably one of my favorite authors right now. I read Before I Let Go earlier this year, and I've said that book is probably the best book I have read this year. Blood Trials is like a close second, a very close second. But Before I Let Go, there was something about that book that just made me not want to get up from my couch. And Blood Trials have the same effect. So, but then they're two different genres, so it's whatever. And I'm currently so I've been reading a lot of thrillers and romance lately, or thrillers and fantasy lately, and there are two fantasy books, Blood Marked, which is book 12, Legend Born, and Children of Blood and Bone, which I want to read. But I just don't know, like, I'm waiting for, like, the thing to hit me where it's like, okay, let's jump into another fantasy world. And I remember posting a TikTok asking people if those two books are worth it, and everyone said, yes, read them, you won't regret it. But I'm just building up to that. Now, I picked up this book. I had finished Miracle Creek, which is a video I did previously, which is pretty good. Check that out. And something that said, read like a romance, but I wasn't looking for a fluffy romance. I was looking for Kennedy Ryan, and I had this book, Real, and I'm checking it out. So something about Kennedy Ryan, her romance book have like three things. One, these two characters are going through something different, and they're their own people. And this is the second book where it's like two different point of views, which I love in a book. Like everyone knows, I adore reading from two different perspectives. That's one. Number two, there's always an undertone. Romance is always there, but there's always something going on underneath that's just like beautiful, and that's happening in this book as well. Number three, there's like a main driving plot, and then the romance and the undertone just drive it as well. So, for example, Before I Let Go, it was something that was an undertone was like the grief the family was going through because they had lost a child, they had a stillbirth, and then there was the divorce, which was number two as well, which is like, okay, let's go with the plot. The plot was they had this restaurant and they were trying to, basically progress their business. And then there was the grief that they were going through. They were a separated couple, and then the rekindling of their romance through, just like trying to build this restaurant, trying to keep their family together, and trying to raise their kids right. Those are the three things. In this book, I am 100 pages in, and we have Neva Saint, and we have Cannon Holtz. Cannon Holtz is a director. Neva Saint is a Broadway performer turned actress now. And what happens in this book, well, so far, is Cannon is, basically doing a documentary on this. I think it's a fictional character called Desi Blue, who's like a jazz a black jazz artist from the 30s, and he's looking for the right person to direct the show. They've been looking for the lead actress for the past 6 months. So he goes to this Broadway performance with his friend, who happens to also be the composer for this documentary that Cannon is doing. And they see this person called Neva, and he's like, that's the person I want. Now, Neva, on the other hand, is just, so far, I love her. She's an amazing, like, I don't know what it is, but I'm so not connected, I just love this actress so far and this character. She's a Broadway performer. She's always been, the understudy, and I guess the main performer, who is actually a white woman as well, goes on vacation for a bit. So Neva, does this one performance, which is the performance that Cannon catches, and it's like, I want her. And she's going through everything. And her life just suddenly changes in like a span of one performance. And now the thing is, her life is changing. She's good, performing. She's professionally impeccable. However, one thing I love about this character, her like side comments, because again, you're reading from a perspective, she sees kind of for the first time and she's like, oh my god. And she's like, he looks delicious, he looks sexy. And then she's like, okay, but he's an asshole, he's on this. Because they meet, well, after the performance, she's friends with the composer as well. There was something that connected her and the composer, basically. But she's friends with the composer, who they call Monk in the book. And he brings Cannon. Anyway, they all go for dinner after with, people from the cast and crew or whatever. And they're at dinner, and Cannon is on his phone the whole time. So she's like, okay, whatever, he's an asshole. But because there are other people there who know who Cannon is in the industry, they're basically like auditioning at dinner, and they're kissing up to him, and she's like, no, I have to keep my cool. And he's looking at her in a subtle way, but like not trying to make her know that he's looking at her. So she's making up all these fantasies in her head. Oh my god, I could keep going on. Like, there's so much that's coming to my head right now. She's making up fantasies in her head. She hasn't had sex in a long time. There's even like a weird joke where she's talking about how she watches porn on her private browser, and it's like her phone has herpes because like caught a virus or something. It's amazing. Also, one more thing about Candy Ryan books: the side characters. Now I want like a whole spin-off because she has a best friend called fuck, I forgot her best friend's name right now. But she has a best friend who's also her hairstylist, and I love the friendship so far. It's amazing, it's phenomenal. I could keep going on. I could really keep going on. But however, so far, I'm loving this book. I don't know where this book is going. Like I think I do, but Candy Ryan would probably break my heart like halfway through. But I'm loving it. And I will come back when I have progressed a lot more than 100 pages.
200 pages in, and well, I mean, without a doubt, first of all, I love Candy Ryan's writing. Something about her writing just makes you want to not stop reading. Like it's very dangerous. And I remember the last time I read the Before I Let Go, I literally was on my couch for the rest of the night, and I didn't stop till I finished. And she has that effect with this book as well. Now it looks very intimidating. I am easily intimidated by books. I'll be very honest, and depending on the context. So earlier in this video, I mentioned how I have two fantasy books I want to get to. They are very huge. I will get to them whenever I get to them. However, 200 pages in, I have to say something, and I hope this doesn't sound bad. I don't like these characters, and I mean that in it's a lot more comforting that I'm not rooting for anyone currently. The I wouldn't even call it. It's very interesting. I wouldn't call it romance. Like what's it's a romance novel or a novel. I wouldn't really call what I'm experiencing romance. It just feels like a scandalous forbidden love, right? So this director already has a reputation of, he was on a movie with someone and they were dating and it went really bad, so he's said he's not doing that again. His I guess his directing partner has told him as well not to do the same thing. However, reading from his point of view, he's basically doing the same shit that he said he wasn't going to do. And just him as a character, I don't I don't like him. I don't want to fuck him. I don't really have any empathy for him if, say, this relationship doesn't go well. I don't just The story, however, is amazing, and something about Kennedy Ryan. The romance is just going to circle on everything else that's going on. And there's something in this book that I'm not going to, spill about the main or the other main character, Neva, that I know is going to come like late. Like I'm waiting for it to come up. It's been coming up like a little bit, but like I mean with this particular love interest, and I want it to come up. I want to see. I just know it's going to wreck my heart probably. And then with Neva, I don't hate her. She's actually really amazing, and you can basically just see how a Broadway star is kind of like adapting into film and television and movie world. But she talks about how she's so. I mean, there was a very fun reference where her first day on set she was yelling and projecting because she's so used to the stage and everything. So she's adapting, and that's really good as well. You're seeing how she's like, because in this movie she's doing, she's having to learn dance numbers and music, and like she's also having to learn her lines, and just seeing the whole process, and it's really great. That being said, I don't hate her. I really enjoy her story, but in a similar way, I'm not rooting for her. And what I mean is, and I hope I don't sound ridiculous, she she's done some things, or there's a particular like backstory where I'm like, I don't know, honey. Should we let it go? Is it about you? I don't know. What are we doing? And then it's just being a bit irresponsible. So basically, this is her first big movie, and this director is already well established, and he's saying the part in the book where he's like, we can't really do what we want to do because it's going to bring your reputation. They're going to think that you got this movie because we're sleeping together. And she's like, oh, I don't care. That's not the reason. I just really want you. And I'm like, girl, it's not that serious. Like, you could really get someone else, please. Can we focus on the job? And the movie's not even done yet. Like, I mean, where I am currently, as you can see, they're like 2 months to a wrap, and they're on holiday right now. So I'm like, we can wait. We can really wait till the movie's like done a year in box office. Yeah, that's why I'm so far. The story is still fleshing out. This book is playing like a Netflix series that you watch about the holiday. I can't explain it, but like the vibe it has, that one show that comes out at random like during Christmas holiday, and you just binge it and you love it. That's what this book feels like. And I it's so dangerous that I'm going to binge this book. I have to really take breaks to be able to do other chores. I mean, I'm fucking working out and I have the book with me, so that just tells you all you need to know about Kennedy Ryan. Also something else about Kennedy Ryan, she will make you love a side character. So Neva's best friend Tarika or Takira, either or, I love her. I'm loving her. She just really has that best friend energy. And again, something that I mentioned earlier as well. the side commentary and the internal dialogue in this book is killing me. But it is so ridiculous. Like there's a part where she's something's going on with her and this guy. They're like being intimate, and she's just taking a lot of like X-rated things. I'm like, you go, girl. So that's why I am now. 200 pages in. I will probably come back. I don't know, maybe 300 pages in, probably. I don't know. How I want to say something that's like so not important, but I really like. I hate how my cover is folding. Look at that. And I also will say, and I might say this later on as well at the end of this video, but I'm reading this book. I don't picture these two people. I don't know what it is, but I think the people that are written down in this book and the characters that have been like fleshed out, they're just a lot more complex, interesting, and just than what I see on the cover. So like when I'm reading this book, I don't picture these people. This is a cute, it's great, but I don't picture these people. Also, like a little pet peeve of mine. The pages are white, and it's just, like it's disgusting to me. If you see here, the pages are white. I don't know how I feel about that. And now I can see it's like it's turning brown. I really like my pages to be like scripts, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, that's it. And I will talk to you guys when I talk to you guys. Good morning. I don't know what day it is in accordance with this vlog, but I just finished Rio and I wanted to give some fresh thoughts. Then to like wrap up the video, I will sit down and kind of take you through my notes. But I finished Rio and I was texting one of my bed is like going the other way, so you could tell I just woke up, but or had been in bed. But I was texting one of my friends on TikTok who actually was someone who said, "You read Before I Let Go, try Real." And I was talking to her about the book. And I have so many concerns. So number one, beginning of this vlog, like 100 pages in, I was feeling the story I was going with it. The plot was really, really good. It is really, really good. But I wasn't really connecting with the characters. And how many times do you really connect with like characters in the romance? But I wasn't really rooting for the romance. And I remember saying on my text that there was this whole thing of the director, which is Canon, the main guy, not supposed to be in love with an actor or whatever. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's going to be high stakes. It's going to be, you know, forbidden love or something. That's not what it was. And it just was a bit seamless. Now, I think it's a me thing because ideally, everyone would want their romance to be seamless and not have like turmoil and drama or whatever. And it was just really a bit drama free. Now, I do remember saying there was something that I wanted or was expecting to happen, and it did happen. So this is like a minor spoiler, but the main character Neva, she had discoid lupus, and it was mentioned at the beginning of the book. And I remember thinking, okay, this is going to probably have some sort of like friction or bump in the road for the relationship. And there was a really, really weird moment that I will get into later that really bothered me. And it didn't really like put some friction in the said relationship, but it really did affect some other relationship with like family and whatever. And I will be honest, I felt in some way while reading, through Neva's point of view, I remember thinking it's not always about you. Like it's not really like, can you just relax? And I don't know what that says about me or makes me look like, but it's what it is. So again, it's ironic to think the story, the character, the plot, everything was amazing. The best friend Tarika was amazing. I feel like if you removed the two main people who the romance is about and just gave me the whole book, I would have loved the book amazingly. But I just really couldn't really gel with them. But it's an amazing book nonetheless. And to be honest, so Neva is an actor in the book, and she's in a biopic playing this. I guess it's a jazz-ish fictional character called Desi Blue, who was in a band as well, and she has a very interesting story. And like the book finishes with the dialogue from her, and I remember thinking,
gosh, how is it weird that how weird is it that I'm a lot more connected to who the main character in this romance is playing than the main character in the romance herself, if that makes any fucking sense. Because Jessie Blood, the character, was just really, really interesting. Her story was moving and I loved it. Now, I will say, towards the ending of the book, I wouldn't say I liked Neva, the main character, more. No. But I could then connect some dots and be like, okay, maybe you're not that annoying after all. Because there were some scenes with the her having to get like surgery and just like some emotional moments with family that was like, okay, I could relate to that on some personal level as well. And that was it felt a bit rewarding to not finish the book and just hating the character, completely, I will say. But these are like my initial thoughts, and I'm going to let this book sit for a little bit and record this video later in the week, and then we'll just see how my mind has been progressing. It's gonna be fun to watch this video back and see what I've been thinking through, just different moments in the book. But yeah.
We're done. We're finished. We're done. Amazing journey. So it's been maybe 2-3 days since I've been done with this book, and I'm trying to let it sit. And just by chance, if you skip to the end of this video, to give a whole rundown, I don't really want to give a summary because I feel like the summary of this book is going to give the whole thing away. However, I'm just going to start from wherever and get to wherever. As a romance, this book works in in a way that I think a lot of people enjoy romance novels. So I love love, but I also enjoy when there are stakes. When there's like something on the line. So great example, this book is about what follows a director and like a Broadway actor turned on-screen actor for the first time, and they fall in love. And on seeing how it's being set up in the beginning, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, something's going to go wrong. Like maybe, because of the budget and like the relationship, there's going to be like a scandal, or they're in love but they have to hide it and then they get caught and then something just goes bust with the movie. That's what I was thinking. Now, what does this say about me and like drama and tragedy? I have no idea. But I was just expecting higher stakes, and there were stakes. So, minor spoiler, which might even motivate you to read the book a lot more, because something about Candy Ryan is the first book, before I let go, something that the main character had, to a grief that the main character had was, she had a stillbirth. And something Kennedy Ryan does that I believe she does well is she's going to do her research. So reading the book, it wasn't just thrown at me. I wasn't spoon fed, but I was like, on a need to know basis, I was learning everything I needed to know, like I was at a fucking consultation. So this character, she has discoid lupus. And just hearing the name, it sounds dramatic for most people. And that's what happened to me when I first read, saw the name in this book. However, seeing how she's been handling it, how she is handling it, and how it kind of progresses across the book happens perfectly. So that was like the only stake. However, the way it's brings them together in a way, for me, I felt was a bit too on the nose. So there's a scene in this book I have a problem with, right? Neva, who's the main character, she's had a breakouts of some sort, and she's breaking out her skin, and like the flare-ups are coming up, and she's very insecure about her body in this current moment. So she's in the bath, and he comes in as well, and they have like a little moment where he's like, do you want me to help you shave your legs? Weird. So you're reading from his point of view, and he's thinking about sex, and he's thinking about how, like, she doesn't know how much I want her and whatever. And you can tell she's insecure and just kind of pushing him away and saying stuff like, might as well just leave me. And you can tell that she's just hurt and just probably wants to be left alone. And in a couple words, he puts her hand on his penis and he has an erection. And he's like, oh, does this look like I want to leave you or whatever? And the first thing that came to my mind was men. Why did you think that was like what she needed at that moment? Like, did you think that's what she wanted? Like, a lot of things were going through my mind, and I didn't like that bit, I'll be honest. I didn't like it. And then they went on to have sex, and I was rolling my eyes in bed. It's like, oh God. I just didn't really like it. And I will say, I've said this before, I'll say it again. As characters, I wasn't really rooting for the romance. I just didn't feel the stakes. The story, and it's annoying for me because the story, the plot, the side characters, like Neva's best friend Tarika, love her. I hope she's doing great. Everything else is amazing. And like even the movie, because Neva, she's playing a biopic of someone called Desi Blue. Desi Blue's story, like I want to know more. Like for a split second, I thought it was a real person. I was on Google, but it's a fictional character as well. And I wanted to really know more. You're learning about blues and like old Black Hollywood
the whole journey. Disability Stories on its own could be a whole different book. Everything was amazing. Learning about like behind the scenes and actors and sets, and like a very interesting part that I really enjoyed was when, like, you know, they had to film some like old Hollywood scenes, so they changed from like regular, I guess, modern cameras, let's just say, to film. And they talked about how when you're like shooting on film, you don't really have the time or the resources or the money for like retakes and just like, you know, constant shootings. You have to rehearse very well and do as minimal takes as possible because it takes money to like send the film off for processing and whatnot. So everything else about this book is amazing. Amazing setup, but the characters, I'm like, fuck. And in a weird way, it makes it a lot more enjoyable because then you're not really attached to the characters and you're like just looking at everything else that this author has built up. So I enjoyed the book. Wasn't rooting for the characters. Didn't really enjoy the romance, and I was looking at everything else, and that just made it worthwhile for me. Like, if the world building was terrible or the plot wasn't just delicious, like in some other romance novels, I might have just really hated myself. But this was worth it. Now, I will say, I'm not as hyped, excited, or willing to reread this book like I am Before I Let Go, but this was a good book nonetheless. So everything I've said, and I hope it makes sense. It's a really amazing book. Don't let the size intimidate you. You would go by this quick. It has all the elements of a good book, and I think for some people, if you don't really want to be attached to a character, this is a good one to pick up. If you like a romance and you really want to enjoy and love the characters, honestly, it just depends on you and like your thought process, because some people might like these people. I was like, good for you, but I found what I was looking for. It felt a bit careless. That's what I was looking for. The romance, the love, the hookups felt a bit, I mean, they were hooking up on sets most times. Everything just felt a bit careless for me, and I feel like I was set up for failure because in the beginning, when you meet Neva, her friend is making a joke about how she watches a lot of porn on her phone, and her phone probably has an STD. And from there, I'm like, oh wow, she hasn't had sex in a long time. God knows what happens if she like throws herself at the first person who, you know, she really is attracted to. And that almost happened because the first time she meets Cannon, the guy, they're at dinner after like one of her Broadway shows, and her thoughts. I will say a big plus about this book is before like they get to the nitty-gritty and they're having sex, their internal monologues and like their thoughts and like intrusive thoughts is fucking, I don't know if it might be sexy for some people, but it was fucking hilarious for me, and I was having a good laugh. And it's I remember taking something from this book where maybe one of the only good cheesy lines that I really enjoyed was when he tells her, "No, you're a star," who was standing by waiting for me to find her, because she was having a moment where she was thinking, oh my gosh, I've been working so long and I didn't think I was going to be worth it. And he gives her that line. I'm like, okay, this is good. But as you can see, this was like the beginning of the book before I had to grow, develop, and have some sort of bond with these characters. And lastly, one last thing I will say is, even though I didn't like these characters at all, getting to the ending of the book, I had some sort of connection with Neva, a little bit, because there's a moment where, again, I don't want to give the whole book away, but Neva has some family issues that you would know from like the prologue, and it's getting a bit resolved towards the ending because of like her situation with her condition, basically. And in a similar way, Cannon's mom had gone through some sort of sickness as well, and he had made one of his first films was a documentary about his mom, just clips and like tidbits and thoughts and opinions and advice she was giving to young people and just people in general. And something that really struck me was when she says, tomorrow, I mean, this is something you hear every day, but she was like, tomorrow isn't promised. I might be sick now, I might look like this, my body might be degenerating or whatever, but that's just my body. I'm feeding my soul. I'm going to go out and get this sunset on my camera because she really enjoyed sunset and she was a photographer. And I'm going to live my life till I can't anymore. And Neva was having a moment where she was having a lot of self-doubt. So she was rewatching this documentary, and it just gave me a lot of hope. Like, I was watching Neva watch this woman who had a lot of hope, joy, and just positivity, and I was feeling it myself. And I took away from that where it's like, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so just do what you can, when you want, what you believe you want to do today. So I've gone around this roundabout, and that is the second Kennedy Ryan book I read, Real. Funny story, before I finished this book, I had ordered another one called The Kingmaker, so I will get to that when I get to that. But if you've read this book, you want to read this book, or you've read any of the Kennedy Ryan book and you think you want to recommend, please feel free to recommend and let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I've been Dami, and I cannot wait to see you the next time I'm talking about another book or book that I enjoyed or have thoughts about.